In this video, I'll be making the most secured vault in Minecraft. Why? Because how else are you supposed to keep diamonds safe in a single-player world? Stop asking silly questions. Of course, before we can begin building our vault, we are going to need some space. So let's just dig a long tunnel on the side of a mountain. In order to make this vault secured, we need to have multiple levels of protection in the form of different redstone inputs. I was thinking about having 6 levels of protection, and each of them will have their own unique door. With that in mind, it seems appropriate to start with a 6x6 door and work our way down. Luckily, adding the doors is as simple as adding the door blocks in our desired size, and the rest will work itself out. All we have to do is to add a button to make sure it works. Of course, we need to have an input on the other side as well, but a simple button will do just fine for that. Getting inside will be the hard part, so we don't want to make it miserable on our way out. Of course, we have to remove the button from the front as it doesn't exactly scream security. Speaking of which, it's time to install our first security measure in the form of an eye scanner. And by eye scanner, I mean an ice scanner. That's right, we'll be using the Frostwalker enchantment, something I'm sure most of the player base forgot even existed as it's quite rare for anyone to use it, making it perfect for our first level of protection. We are going to have an item frame with an eye of ender inside to act as our eye scanner. Of course, this is just for decoration, but we do need to get close to it for the water to freeze. The way we detect the water freezing is by using an observer to monitor its state. One thing to keep in mind is that the water needs to be on the same level as our floor, otherwise the Frostwalker enchantment won't work. 1 block below the observer, we need to add 2 droppers facing into each other. This will be the way we detect the state of the water, which will allow us to power the door. By having a comparator monitoring one of the droppers, we'll be able to open the door once the water freezes and close it once it melts. Now we just need to connect it to our door. We'll use a comparator going into a block with a redstone torch on the other side. By default, the torch will be on and is going to keep the door open, which means that we need to add an item inside this dropper so that the comparator can detect it and power the torch off. Once we freeze the water, the observer will send a signal, and the item will be transferred to the other dropper, which will in turn power the torch back on and open the door. Once it melts, the observer will send another signal to transfer the item back, which will close the door. And that is our ice scanner done. By the way, if you are interested in any of the doors used in this video, I already have tutorials for each of them you can find on my channel, but I'll also leave links for each of them in the description and the pinned comment for your convenience. With the first door done, it's time to make the second one. This one is going to be a 5x5 door, and just like last time before we start on the hidden input, we need to make sure it works and that we can open it from both sides. As for the hidden input, we'll be using my personal favorite trick I've been using for over 8 years now. Not only is the button 100% hidden, the method for hiding it is ridiculously simple. The trick in question doesn't even use redstone. All it needs are 2 stairs that match your wall. And as a bonus point, it doesn't require that much space to make it work. Start by placing one of the stairs the normal way, and the second one curved. We'll create a stair that resembles a full block with a little chunk missing. This missing chunk is actually transparent, which means that we can click right through it. Now all we have to do is add a button behind this stair and connect it to the door, which is as simple as adding redstone dust until we connect the 2 together. And that is our invisible button done. If you match the stairs to the blocks surrounding it, no one will be able to tell the difference. Now I'll teach you how to press the button. If we point into the stair, you'll be able to see the block outline, but if we look at the top right chunk, the outline will disappear. If you slowly move the cursor up, you'll notice that it disappears on this pixel, and that's precisely where we need to press in order to reach the button on the other side. It may take you a bit of time to get used to it, but like with anything else in life, all you need is a bit of practice and you'll get the hang of it. With our second door done, we can move on to the third one, which is going to be a 4x4 door. And in light of keeping things simple, this one will have another easy input that's also totally hidden. Of course, we want to make sure the door works first before doing anything else. Once we confirm that the door works, it's time to add our hidden input, so we won't need this button anymore. As for the input, we'll be using a calibrated sculk sensor. I know that might sound complicated, but it's actually really simple. We are only going to need 3 blocks of space, 1 each for the lectern, comparator, and the calibrated sculk sensor. We'll also need a book with 30 pages, because the books in Bedrock display 2 pages at once, instead of 1 like they do in Java Edition. From here, we can pick what sound we want the calibrated sculk sensor to pick up. Since we already used Frostwalker boots at the start, let's incorporate them again by setting the page number to 10. This will set the calibrated sculk sensor to pick up the sound of armor being equipped. Of course, you can set it up to any sound you'd like by picking one from this list. Since we are on Bedrock and our books have 2 pages, we need to divide the number of pages by 2 to get our desired signal strength. So a page number 10 divided by 2 gives us the signal strength of 5, which sets the calibrated sculk sensor to pick the sound of armor being equipped. Even with the sensor covered, we'll still be able to open the door by equipping armor. And now that that's done, we can move on to the 4th door. This one is going to be a 3x3 door, but to make it a bit more fancy, we'll make it into a spiral version. We want to make sure the door works before we work on the input. And I gotta say, seeing that spiral door always puts a smile on my face. As for the input, this time we won't be hiding it. Instead, we are going to make a good old combination lock. Since we have a 3x3 door, we'll make the combination use 3 different buttons. We have to hit them fast and in the correct sequence in order for the door to open. For the combination, I'm going to choose the top left, top right, and the bottom middle button. As for the redstone, it's going to be quite simple. In order to make it a bit easier on ourselves, we'll add some delay to the buttons. The first button will have 4 repeaters on max tick delay, going into a block with a redstone torch. For the second button, we'll do the same setup but use 3 repeaters on max tick delay. And just like last time, we'll have them going into a block with a redstone torch. Last but not least, we'll do the same setup for the third button, but this time we'll use 2 repeaters on max tick delay. The delay makes it easier and also adds a sequence in which buttons must be pressed. Now we need to connect all the torches together. This will ensure that as long as one of the torches is lit, the door won't open. We'll need to add another torch here and carry the signal from it all the way down to the door. Of course, we want to make sure we only connect it to the comparator clock and not the door itself. Since we don't want to mess with any of the redstone, we can use repeaters here or go around the long way to make sure we don't connect the 2. With that done, it's time to test out the combination lock. Top left, top right, and bottom middle button. Sure, this input isn't exactly hidden, but come on. We can't have a vault without a combination lock. And with that, our 4th door is done. Time to work on the 5th. Going down the line, it means that this door will be a 2x2 one, and following in the footsteps of the combination lock. I think I have just the right input for this one. Of course, we want to make sure the door works, but if I somehow manage to mess up a tiny 2x2 door, I'd probably just end the video right there. As for the input I had in mind, considering that we just used a combination lock, it seems appropriate that the next input will be a password lock, and the way we'll set it up can also pass as a card reader. We are going to have a dropper facing backwards. We'll also need a barrel so we can pick up the password once it goes through. Then we'll add a hopper going into the barrel. In order to make this into a password lock, we need to add an item sorter. We'll start by adding 5 blocks like this. Then we'll add a comparator in the middle, which will be monitoring the hopper. Next, add 3 redstone dust on top of these blocks, and a redstone torch here to lock the hopper. For the sorter, we need 4 junk items, 1 in each of these slots, and 41 of the item we wish to sort in this one. This means that only our password can go through, and once it goes through, it will end up in the barrel. In order to turn this into an input, we'll add another redstone torch here, with a block and redstone on top of it. Now we need to connect it to the door, but to make sure we can pick up the password from the barrel before going through the door, we need to add some delay, in the form of 3 repeaters on max tick delay. Since the torch is on by default, we'll need to add another torch here in order to invert the signal, and we'll use another repeater to connect it to the door. With that done, we can put it to the test. If we try to use an item that's not our password, nothing will happen, as that item can't be sorted, meaning that the only way to get through is with the correct password. Thanks to the delay we added, we have enough time to pick up the password and walk through the door before it closes behind us. And with that, our password locked door is complete, which means it's time for the final door. It's going to be a simple 1x2 door that will lead to a small room with a chest inside where we can store our most prized possession. As for the input we are going to use, I believe I have just the thing for it. Since this whole vault has been built using redstone, it seems fitting that the final security measure will be a redstone dust key. It's another thing that sounds more complicated than it actually is. We'll start things off with a sticky piston 1 block below the ground, then we'll add a block on top of it. This is where the redstone dust will go. Now all we have to do is make a little redstone loop. Add a block next to the piston, with a repeater on top of it. Add redstone dust here, with a block above it. And we need another block above the repeater, which needs to be powered constantly with a lever. The way it works is simple. This block powers the redstone powers the repeater powers the block in front of it, which powers the redstone below it, and finally the redstone powers the block next to the piston, which makes it extend and break the redstone we placed. Now we can take the signal from that very redstone, but we need to make sure it still points into the block behind it, so the repeater needs to be in front of it and not to the sides. Then we can just connect it to the clock with another repeater. Only this time it will be set to max tick delay. That will give us enough time to pick up the redstone before going through the door. Of course, you want to match the blocks of the redstone key with the ones you used for the floor and walls. That way there is no indication of where to place the redstone, and only you'll know the correct spot. With that done, our vault is almost complete. You may have noticed that everything is made out of stone, and we need to do something about that before we give the entire vault a test run. So let's run through the whole vault together. Starting with the eye scanner that utilizes Frostwalker enchantment, followed by the invisible button, which is simply hidden behind 2 stairs. Next up, we have the Calibrated sculk sensor, which we'll need the boots for again. If we take them off and put them on again, we'll be able to make it to the 4th door. For this one, we need to input the correct button combination so that we can make it to the next door, which will be our trusty password door. We need to make sure we grab the password on our way in. Last but not least, we have a door that uses a redstone key and opens up the room with a chest where we can hide our most prized possession, or in my case, the forbidden item a true piston door connoisseur can't possibly be caught using. The one and only, evil normal door. Just touching it is enough to send shivers down my spine, so it shall forever remain sealed away in this vault tomb. If you made it this far into the video, I have to say you are awesome. I do hope you enjoyed it, as that's all I have for you today. If you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing. I'm on the road to 50K subscribers, and that would certainly help a lot. I do hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.